So in a previous video, we introduced the concept of conditional formatting and created this nice heat map-like visual here. Now what I want to talk about is how to do custom conditional formatting, how to describe a specific conditional formatting rule and have that be manifest visually in the data. So first of all, I'm going to clear this conditional formatting. I'm going to select this entire range, and I'm going to clear the rule. And then I'm going to go here again and say make a new rule. And now instead of using any of these default options, which are also very helpful, we're going to go here and describe exactly what we want Excel to do manually. So the two pieces here is one is a formula that, if true, activates conditional formatting. And then the second piece is what happens when conditional formatting is activated. So what we want to do here is we want to have this be yellow. We want to have the border be like red, maybe. We want the font to be bold. Okay, that's enough. If when this is activated, this is all bright like this, we're fine. So basically what we want to do now is we want to define a formula that will show you what the maximum value is for each row. And you can imagine how that would be helpful. If you just look at this data, even when we had the conditional formatting set on before, it would be very difficult to know, well, what year was, Indonesia's maximum population? Or what year was Pakistan's maximum? Most of them are going to be on the right because population growth is a general trend that's happening in the landscape. But there are certainly countries where the rightmost number is not the maximum. And just to instantly know what the maximum value is, we want Excel to do the work for us. We want Excel to highlight the maximum value in each row. So to do that, we need to define sort of a true-false statement over here that, if true, would highlight the cell. So first of all, we're going to select the upper leftmost cell, and we're going to say equals max, and then select the row, not including the end, of course. Now you may think that's correct as written, but it actually isn't. And the reason it's not is because this formula will continually, as it's going through, think about this formula, as conditional formatting works, it will go through each cell and ask the question that's asked in this formula. And because I have locked this formula, I have dollar signs here, even when it gets to C13, it will be asking that same question. Is B4 the maximum of B4 to AF4? It won't be asking about that particular row, it'll be asking about this row. It won't be asking about that particular cell, it'll be asking about this cell. So what I need to do is I need to unlock this cell. Using F4, I can scroll through these options here of locking, or I can manually remove the dollar signs if I chose to. And when I get to this point where it just says B4, now it's completely unlocked. And now, as it goes through asking questions, it will always ask about the cell it's on, not about B4. When it gets to C4, it will ask about C4. When it gets to D14, it will ask about D14. Likewise, we have to manage how these are locked as well. Now, we can't unlock them entirely because what will happen is it will actually move the range it's describing. It's asking about right and left. So in other words, it will ask about C, when it gets to C4, like if I were to unlock this entirely, this is actually also wrong, because what it's doing is it's asking if when it gets to C4, it will ask, is C4 the maximum of the range starting at C and ending at A, not AF, but G over here, which is not what we want. We want the row to always be defined ending at AF, starting at B. So we want the column to be locked, but we don't want the row to be locked. We want the row to be whatever row the cell is on that we're asking about. So in that case, we would just lock the column. The dollar sign is always right before whatever thing it's locking. So in this case, it's locking the column and not the row. In this case, it's locking nothing. I'm going to hit OK. And what's happened is nothing. And the reason nothing's happened is sometimes this little glitchy thing happens in Excel where you'll define this whole formula and then it will use a different cell as the base cell to start with. So what you have to do is sometimes you might have to go up here. This doesn't always happen, but now and again you'll have to redefine the starting cell. So I'm going to get rid of this. Click up here again. Unfreeze that, unlock that. Hit OK. Hit apply. And now the formula is correctly working. You can now see that, once again, most countries, the maximum value is in 2010. But for some of them, Russia, for instance, the maximum population was in 95. Now, you would have to stare at that data for a while to figure that out manually. You would have to do some sorting. It would not have been particularly easy. But now you can quickly see, oh, Japan has lost population. Japan's population used to be 128 million, now it's 127. Germany also has seen, Germany's basically flat with slight maximum here in 2005. We can see that Italy is flat-ish, a little down. Poland is a little bit down, not very down. So basically, immediately, you can see this really useful information is being displayed to us, highlighted for us, and we didn't have to do the work to find that information ourselves. So this is a case where conditional formatting isn't just nice and pretty on the eyes. It's actually useful for a particular function, for answering a specific question about a data set. I would also add that I use conditional formatting all the time at work and in other places because even when I'm not using conditional formatting to answer a question or to display data to a client, it can make data easier to visualize and to consume as you're working on it. So conditional formatting is not just a thing that you would use when you're showing a client data. It's also something you can use while you're working on data to get answers, to find trends, to detect patterns, and to just be better at analyzing information. Great, thank you so much for joining. Please feel free to comment, like, and subscribe, and I hope you have an excellent day.